All right, hey there. We're doing this transom on this 1981 Grady White tarpon. This is Ali's dad's boat. If you don't know, we did our 24-foot Grady White with a port transom. I'm gonna put the link up here so you guys can check that out. This boat, it's completely rotted. It's all hollow here, and we want her dad to be out on the water with a secure transom. We're gonna do this transom from the inside. So in the previous video, we cut out the skin, put it back on, and then poured the liquid transom in. This time we're going to be taking this cap off and we're going to be working from the inside of the boat, and hopefully this video will help you have the confidence to do it yourself. With that said, we're going to get started. If you guys are interested in doing this project yourself, we have an extended version of this video that's an hour long in more detail, and you can purchase that in the link in the description below. This cap has a splash well, so there's really no way to pour in from the top here unless you take this cap off. So the first thing that we have to do before anything is start to take off all of these little things like the rub rail. We started taking it off. We're gonna start doing that in a second. So here are some of the telltale signs of a bad transom. It's kind of hard to tell, but this indents a little bit. You could see here how indented this area here is. Here, you can really tell because that wood is just rotted and it starts to compress. Check this stuff out over here. And this is how water gets into these transoms. You have this crappy little, these seams here where the cap comes in. Water gets into the transom, gets into the wood, and that's it, ruins it. And one last thing before we get started, this project is not possible without the help of FGCI. FGCI is going to be supplying all of the products that you'll see in this video. We're happy to be partnering with them, and they are generous enough to offer a 10% discount to all our viewers. We're going to put the link in the description below. It's PFB10 at FGCI.com. So let's get back to work. Alrighty, so now that we got all the crap taken out, this is all, see all this cracking? That's where water gets in on most of the transoms. It's a poor design, but it is what it is. That's what we got. Now it's time to clean up everything on the inside that we need to take off. We need to take off this light, and any of the connections that we have down here, we're gonna have to take off as well, because we are going to cut this cap and take it off. All right, so everything has been disconnected. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna tape off where we're gonna cut, and I've decided that we're gonna cut right here, right along here. For this part, I'm gonna use an oscillating tool or a multi-tool, and I like using this because it's a very thin blade and it doesn't make a lot of dust. It's a lot more forgiving than getting a saw and cutting this whole thing off, and it's a bigger hole. So this gives you a little bit more precision. It takes longer, but it's not gonna, you're not gonna cut through the hole. And you always want to wear breathing protection. You don't want to breathe this stuff in. And eye protection too, but I don't have any, so luckily there's a breeze. All right, now we're gonna go in through all these spots here, and we're just gonna loosen stuff up, try to break up any of the caulking that's in there. As you can see, there's some caulking in there. We're getting a first look at what we're dealing with, and it doesn't look good. Crank back and forth a little bit. Yeah, you hear that? Good. There,
oh,
good.
There, you go. Now
there, you see how it all comes up? Perfect.
Oh, look.
Yep, that's what we want. We want that whole thing to come up. All right, so this side is already loose. Good job, babe. That side is already loose. We might have to work a little bit of this area. No, look, it'll actually come out. Oh, perfect, look.
Oh my gosh.
Nice.
Whoa.
Awesome.
Crazy.
Good job, babe. Let's come over here and let's try to get this one loose now.
Oh my God, I can't believe it's coming loose.
Yeah, that was fairly easy.
I think this is already kind of loose, right?
Yeah, try to get in there. There you go.
Yeah.
There, nice.
Oh my gosh.
Perfect.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, look. Okay.
Ooh.
All right, now we got to take this whole thing out.
It's happening.
Yeah, it's happening. One of the things that we forgot that's holding this together is the scuppers. It's one of the things we forgot. Well, that way you don't forget yours. All right, now that we got the scuppers out the way, this should come off. Ready? Oh, look at that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, buddy. All right, what do we do?
What do we do now?
All right, let's...
Do you want me to get down and you can kind of like...
Holy crap, look at that.
Oh man. Yeah,
All right, so let's set it like this. And here, I'll get down and you get this. All right, we have to cut the fuel line here. All right, let's get a good look at what we got. So, as you can see, this is, look how rotted that is,
That's
which
crazy.
is a good thing.
Yes, as we learned last time.
The more rotted the wood is, the easier it is to get out. So we're gonna go taking all of this stuff out here. All this is gonna come off. Let me get that, the hammer. You might be tempted, okay, to take the easy way out and just grind all this stuff out as best as you can and pouring in something. Don't do that, okay? Take the extra steps. You can't get all the wood out by leaving the skin just the way it is. It's impossible. I've already tried it. You can't. Not even if you get a drill, and it's impossible. Even when you have the skin off, it's hard to get all the stuff out. So don't even try to do that. Just do it the right way. You never see this part of the boat. This part is underneath. You never back here. So like I said, this skin is going to come off because this is all just for looks. We're going to leave it bare, as you can see here. See that? That's just a piece of fiberglass that's finished. We're gonna cut that off, and then we're gonna cut off a piece of the floor right around here. We're gonna cut this piece so we can actually get in there and work all the way down to the bottom of the transom.
And then do you have to put this back on
No,
to be able to do the pour, or no?
Because
How
this
does
is
that
just
work?
a separate piece of skin. So there's this fiberglass here. Look, if you come over here, like there's already a piece of fiberglass in there. This is just an
okay.
extra that they put to finish it, but you never see this part.
Yeah.
So we're not gonna worry about that. We're just gonna gel coat it and call it a day because you're never gonna see it. It's covered by the cap. You know, as you can see here, so the plywood coring is good on the cap, and this is a 40-year-old boat.
As long as it doesn't touch water.
Look, there's nothing wrong with plywood. People hate on plywood, but if you encapsulate it right, you're not gonna have any problems. It'll last you forever, you know, and plywood is super strong. There's nothing wrong with it. We did our grading with plywood because that's what we could afford at the time. You know, a sheet of K-cell or composite is $450 for 3/4 inch, you know, versus $100 for plywood. You know, you're paying 4 or 5 times the amount. You do what you can afford. Just do it right so it'll last you a long time. Look at this. Half of this stringer is attached to the transom in the middle. See that gap? What a shame, man. This is why it's important to go over your boat when you buy one. Get a survey done, you know. If you don't know what you're looking for, get a survey done at least.
If you're gonna take on a project like this, you better get the boat
for dirt cheap, you know.
dirt cheap.
At least you know you're gonna have to do this work. Take that piece out. Did this transom, did this floor. They never bonded the wood to the back transom. Crappy work. We took the cap off today. We took off this back part. The floor is in great condition. Still good. No soft spots. Plywood is still good, so we're gonna keep this floor. We're gonna cut off these stringers, and the stringers are still good too. They're not rotted. I don't know how they're not rotted, but they're not rotted. And we're gonna make new knees with K-cell. We're gonna cut right here, just like you see this one. I'm gonna cut this straight down, and we're gonna start cutting to try and save this skin. Now we're gonna grind all this area here, and we're gonna grind all around to try to release the skin. We're gonna be using our grinder. This is very dangerous, so you wanna have eye protection, you wanna have breathing protection, some type of respirator, and you're gonna want gloves. If you can have a Tyvek suit, even better. But this is very dangerous, so you gotta have eye protection. All right, and yeah, it's not the best way, but this is what we have. And my oscillating tool broke today, so use an oscillating tool, even though it takes longer. We'll have an oscillating tool in the next video. This is what we got. So I took the cap off of here, and you can see this wood is delaminated. It's been delaminated. As soon as I ripped off this top cap of glass, boom, it separated all the way down. So this thing, from what I can tell, and wasn't even fiberglassed. They just literally sandwiched this piece together. Isn't that incredible? Look at this.
2 pieces of wood with no
Two pieces
fiberglass
of wood
in
with
between.
nothing in between. It doesn't even look like they put resin in between. Look at that. There's nothing in between that. All right, so today we are back on the boat and we're going to be cutting these stringers to make room so we can take the skin off of the boat. Preferably you want to use a Sawzall, but you might not be able to get into those tight areas, so a multi-tool like this would work with a specific blade that's meant to cut metal and wood and nails and things like that. That's what you want. So it takes a little longer, but you'll get a nice even cut. All right, we're gonna keep this as a template, so we're not gonna throw this out. We are trying to clean up the foam that's in here away from these walls because we need to laminate in there. We need to laminate it against the knees that we're gonna put in. So we're trying to make some room so we can laminate and get at least a good 4 inches of lamination from the new knees that are gonna go in to the existing stringers. So what we did was we went in with the grinder first, and what you want to do is you want to make a seam all the way around, because we're going to peel this whole skin back. You can use a pry bar if you have one. I have a long flathead screwdriver that I use specifically for this, and you can jam it in there just like that, and it'll start separating all the stuff that you've cut. See that? That nasty wood. Yep. This is so we've taken off our inside skin. We've laid it out on this this table, because now what we're going to do is we're going to grind this down, right? And remember, we got a couple rips in this, so we got to get this down to the bare fiberglass, and we're going to put one layer of mat, one fresh layer of mat, to make everything back together and get it to stick. Once it's back in the boat, we're going to add more layers on the on this side of the board. We're gonna have to grind this down. You can use a Milwaukee scraper blade, which really helps, but our Sawzall is broken, so we're gonna have to scrape this by hand and then grind it down. You want to mix that in good. Stir it for about 30 seconds. We're going to have to soak this fiberglass with some resin, so then the mat, when it gets on there, has something to stick to. Now we're going to come with a roller, and we're just going to roll out any air bubbles that are in here. Put that there. All right, so we got these 1.5 inch pieces of wood, and these are going to act as our spacer. It allows us to leave this skin exactly where it's supposed to be. Here, let me show you. Well, we're going to wipe everything down with acetone first, and we're going to come in with the structural putty, and we're going to lay a layer of structural putty. All right, so we're going to be using FGCI structural putty to put this together. You could use the bonding putty, but we don't have any, and this is pretty good as well. It allows us to get a little bit of a filleting in as well. So this is basically resin mixed with chop strand. We'll take a look at that in there. That's what we're working with. That's about 32 ounces. 9 ounces of MEK. 9 cc's. This is why I love this little guy. It just tells you exactly how much. Just go into the corners. Yeah, you want a spatula, but you could also do this by hand too. Just filling in. Yeah.
That's even easier.
Double up on gloves and really get in there and form these fillets. The structural putty is fantastic. So this should cure in a couple hours. We also went ahead and filled up all these little cracks and they had putty here previously and we just filled that up with the structural putty. That stuff is really strong, so that's not going anywhere. We filled this up as well. Just so it was a low spot of the fiberglass. The trick to doing it this way is to have spacers that are the exact width of your transom. In our case, it's 1.5 inches from the inside skin to the inside, from the skin to skin, and it fit perfect. We have our knees that we're going to laminate today. We're going to try to set these in today on the boat before we do the pour. So we're going to do a layer of 1708 on each side. This is just to laminate it now and set it in, and then we're going to laminate some more once we have the knees already set up in the boat. 1708 takes a lot of resin, so you want to make a little bit more than what you think you might need. Now we're going to place these guys on there. Now we're just going to come in with the brush and we're going to dab it in. All right, now that that's nice and soaked, we're going to come back with a roller. We're going to roll out the air bubbles. I'll let this cure and then we'll flip it and do the other side and we're going to install it in the boat. We're going to put these out in the sun so they bake and cure faster. So these should be cured in a few minutes. Since we already did all the filleting, we're going to cut up the fiberglass that's going to be the tabbing that's going to go here, all throughout here and on the bottom. So we're going to measure for that tabbing and we're going to do 3 layers of tabbing.
So how wide is that first tabbing you're going to do?
I'm going to make it 4, 5, and 6 inches. So that will be our first one. And then the 5-inch and 6-inch. Perfect. All right, we're ready to lay up the fiberglass, but first we have to wipe everything down with acetone. Even though we wiped it down yesterday, you know, there's a lot of dust and stuff. I think this could help you if you're trying to do this for the first time. We found that this is the easiest way to lay up the fiberglass, especially when you're in a weird area like the back of the boat. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pre-laminate our strips here. We're gonna soak them up with resin. Okay, Ali's gonna be soaking them up with resin. And once these are nice and soaked, he's gonna roll them up and bring them over to me so I can then go into the boat, lay them out, and as I'm rolling out, she's working on the next 5-inch tabbing and then the 6-inch tabbing. This one's almost right, and you gotta be very careful. You don't wanna pull on this because then it's gonna deform it. So you don't wanna pull on it. You could use your hands to spread it out. And let's get that other one over here. I'm gonna change up gloves and put on a mask because the wind is helping, but I'm getting a little fumes. If you go over with your hands, it'll help you with the roller, make things easier. But you gotta try to get all the excess bubbles out. I think we're doing a pretty good job. Alrighty. Now when you're doing this tabbing, I asked Laz from FGCI, do I start small and then big? or big to small pieces. What's the right way? And he says you start small to big. And I'm gonna listen, because those guys are professionals. See that? Right, look at this extra resin. We don't want that. See that? A light pressure. We want to get that out. Let's go check and see if these work. This one has to go over here. Yeah. So we have our knees to the stringers placed. Now we're going to come back. We're going to take them out and we're going to putty up with structural putty in the places that they touch the hole, and in between here where they touch the stringer. And we're going to use that more as like we're going to wipe down first the area, get all the dirt out. We want that clean. We want it to be nice and clean. Let's go ahead and get a nice batch in here, all up and down here. Sit that guy in there.
Basically going all the way around the edges, you're just avoiding the top and then that back hole where the water will pass through, right?
Now we're going to tab in the stringers to the transom wall. So what we're doing is we're going to put 3 layers of 1708, smaller to bigger, 4 inches, 5 inches to 6 inches wide.
Yep.
All right, we got our 1708 up against the back of the transom. This is going to be the piece that goes on the inside. So we faced it that way, and we basically just traced out the transom, and we're going to put that on the inside. So let's go ahead and lay it in. All right, check this out. We got our 1708 in place, fitting good. And now we got to laminate this thing. All right, we're just wiping down with acetone, getting ready to put in that huge layer of 1708. That's too big of a layer to laminate outside. It's gonna warp. Yeah, it should be tacky already. Yep, it's tacky. I'm gonna put this like this. We got like half a gallon of this stuff. We're gonna wet down the whole transom, this side, the corners. This is the biggest piece of 1708 I think we've ever tried to laminate.
I think so.
We were trying to rush this a little bit before nighttime, and we did the best that we could. We got a few air bubbles in here with that last layer, but we got a lot of them out. What day is this?
Day 4.
Day 4, so 4 full days of work, right?
Yep.
4 full days of work so far, and we're doing it. All right, now the final step before we put the board up here is we gotta laminate. We gotta connect these 2 stringers together here. And then for these stringers, I'm just worried about laminating up here. You wanna try to get as much gel coat as you can. This is woven, so it's very hard to get into it. You're gonna have to take off a lot of material. But like over here, scratched up over here so we can laminate one piece like this, you know, 2 pieces over itself, and same thing on this side. That's what I want. All right, we got our laminations done. All of this is complete. That's laminated up. We got a decent amount, 2 layers of 1708 on each side, which is much better than it was originally. Now we're gonna put the floor on. So this part is gonna go on now. All right, so we're gonna make a template for the piece that's going here. Look at that, perfect. All right, we're laminating the floor pieces that are gonna go on top of those stringers. We're gonna do one layer first, see how thick that layer matches up to the rest of the floor. We're gonna laminate both sides with 1708. So I'm doing the top side here first. First layer. So this is the floor. It's laminated on both sides. So now what we're gonna do, we're just test fitting it. I'm gonna take it back off and we're gonna use structural putty. You could use the FGCI bonding putty, which it works really well. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna come around with our structural putty and we're gonna fill in all the gaps. I think that looks fantastic.
Looks really good.
So the floor has been put in, the structural putty has been filled in all the gaps. We're gonna wait till this cures. I'm gonna come back tomorrow. We're ready to install some of the hardware that's gonna go on the transom. So we have our stern eye hooks. Those are gonna go in through here. And we have some of our drain tubes that we have for the bilge and for the deck and for the splash wall as well. These are also going to help us keep the transom at the correct space, which is 1.5 inches of space. You want to coat these in a Vaseline or some type of grease so the Arjay that we're going to pour doesn't bond to this. The same thing with these through-hole fittings. You want to coat them in like a grease or some type of Vaseline so you can get them out later. Perfect. Yeah. Now we're going to do the drain tubes from the deck. We're going to use a 1 1/4 inch hole saw. I'm going to have to go through the other side. We're going to go at an angle to get into the floor. See that? Perfect.
Perfect.
All right, so I just realized something. When we put the cap on this boat, these drains will be free, but these drains won't because the cap has the drains already put in here. See the drains? So we can't keep these drain tubes in for the pour. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna get 1 inch PVC, stick it in there, pour, and then take them out. And then we'll put the cap back on. So we got our PVC pieces in here, as you can see. And that's just gonna allow this space to stay open so when we put the cap back on, we can put our pieces of the drain tube together. All right, we're gonna put some sealant on here. I'm gonna wipe down the inside with acetone. You want to use a rag like this, an old shirt or something, and I have a stick so I can get in there and really get on those walls and clean them out. So we're going to use our acetone. We're going to soak this up. Wipe down, get out as far down as you can. Yeah, we're just going to grease up the fitting. We're just trying to grease this up so we can take these out. We're almost ready to pour, so we're going to start covering up any of these little holes that we have here, like the engine mount holes. Use a heavy duty tape like duct tape. All right, we've covered all the holes with duct tape, double. And even then, we got to be careful and ready with some duct tape because they'll pop out. You know, they'll break through sometimes. Our transom is spaced exactly where it's supposed to be, which is 1.5 inches. So everything is ready. So this is my plan. We're gonna pour up until we get about to this point. Once we get to that point, I'm gonna go over this part with my duct tape. As a matter of fact, I might do that now to save more time and leave a space here. So So let's do that. I think that'll be smarter. Before going any further, what I should have done and what I recommend anyone attempting this to do is that at this step, place a few pieces of 1.5-inch composite board along the center of the transom, being held in place by screws from the inside of the skin and the outside of the skin. This will prevent any bowing towards the inside thinner skin while pouring the material, keeping the same transom thickness. You'll see that later at the end of the video. The parts towards the port and starboard side have plenty of support from the transom knees, the toe straps, and the clamps, which help keeps its shape. Once it reaches this, we're gonna tape this up and we'll continue to pour on the sides. So now one more important thing, this is a very important part, which is you have to have your boat level when you're doing this. As you can see here, we placed this bracket underneath the boat to make it as level as possible. You don't want the boat tilted and having all the stuff go to one side and then your transom is this way. So you want it to be as level as possible. All right, so it's the next day. We didn't get to pour yesterday because we felt a little bit of a drizzle coming on, and sure enough, it rains. We have our Arjay 6011 transom pour. You're gonna want a mixer. We have our MEKP. Depending on where you're located, you're gonna use a different amount of MEKP. Here, I'm gonna put the link of this page, this PDF on the link in the description below so you guys can see. Depending on the temperature is gonna determine how many cc's you're gonna need. We know that 1 ounce is roughly 29 point something cc's. Well, let's call it 30. So 30 cc's is 1 ounce. So each one of these has 8 ounces. So this has 240 cc's. As it is right now, it's about 80 degrees. And according to our list here, cc's per 5 gallons, we're between 232 and 248. This is 240, which is right in the middle. And that's what we're going to use. We're going to pour one whole one of these. Again, depending on where you're located, it might be different. There is also a different type of pour that they provide for cold temperatures. You might want to check that out in case you're up north and you don't have a way to heat up the product. So let's go ahead and start. Let's open this up and take a look. I remember from the first time I did this stuff gets everywhere. So you want to protect yourself or wear clothing that you don't care about. Yeah, so this is it's pretty smooth. It's not like it looks like concrete, but it's almost moves like a smoothie. You know, that's the consistency that it has. So we're gonna go ahead and pour. There's no chunks or anything. We're gonna go ahead and pour little by little. Now when you're doing this, you want to get the sides. You want to mix this up as well as you can. Take your time. A good 3 to 4 minutes of mixing. All right, I think we're ready. All right, we have about 15 minutes of working time with this stuff before it starts to get hard. So you want to work fairly quickly. You might even want to make a dam to pour this stuff in, but this is so low and it's so easy that we're not going to use a dam. All right, babe, grab this side.
Right here?
Yep. Come back. Now come close, close, close. And let's start pouring that in nice and slow. And you can tell that this is mixed perfect because the whole color is a pink, nice uniform color.
It's totally even.
Now I'm gonna stay looking out here while she's pouring and making sure it's going in straight. I'm gonna look out here and make sure there's no blowouts. And we're not using masks because there's a lot of wind. So, but wear a mask. Don't do what we do. I'm looking out here and there's no blowouts. I'm gonna get a piece of wood to scrape any of this extra stuff out. We're almost filled up to here, which is great.
Wow.
Yeah. And here's the other
4
thing.
inches down.
Yeah, here's the other important part to this. Check this out. You don't need a hammer to get rid of any voids or anything like that. This product has an off-gassing material. You don't need to worry about any voids or anything like that. It does it on its own. Okay? So pour it and it'll off-gas and all the bubbles will come out, so you'll have no voids. If you do leave wood in here, okay, because you'll hear people say like, oh, just scrape it out with, scrape the wood out from the top and then you don't have to take anything. No, when you leave wood in here, it's going to eventually rot. When that turns into dust, then you'll have voids inside your transom. So, and that's not me saying it, that's the manufacturer saying it, that's FGCI saying it.
Yeah,
and
it's
that's
on Arjay's website.
It's
they
not,
say
it's
very
Arjay's
specifically,
website.
you will not have a strong transom if you don't get
Exactly.
all the wood out.
You got to get everything out.
And we really did.
And we really did. We got every
we got
piece
every
of
ounce of wood out.
Every ounce of wood we got out. So far, so good. Let's get the next pail out. Let's do it. All right, batch number 2. All right, let's put it up to there. All right, numero dos, here we go. Filling up. All right, we're getting close to the top, but
it's still leveling.
But it still needs to level out, so give it a chance. And that's gonna help level this out a little quicker. Almost, yeah, almost. You know what? You could do that, and I'm gonna tape this part off. All right? I don't want that to start kicking.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do this by yourself, good luck. At least ask a friend or somebody to help you out. Nice and clean pour. Last one. My idea is to pour a little here, a little there, a little here, a little there, just so it comes up even. It's a little bit coming out here, but that's not a big deal. Man, that is just exactly the amount that we needed, which is incredible. Covered that perfect. Next day, and this transom is solid as a rock. Listen to this. This is how a transom should sound. That's how your transom should sound. So everything was going smooth last night, where everything was just going perfect. The pour was going great, so I put the phone down, and as luck would have it, the last bit of that bucket, we had a really big blowout. So learn from our mistakes. And what we ended up doing was getting these pieces of 1x2s and just drilling in to the transom to hold it together, put pressure on that. And you could see it started to bow out here, started to bow over here, it started to bow over here. So we put these pieces of bricks to kind of hold it down, which we'll have to go in and shape down. We put this up here too. So what I recommend, so you guys learn from our mistakes, even though it worked out, I talked to these guys from FGCI, and what they stated was you have to use something else here on this part. And what you can use is like acrylic tape down with the duct tape works really well, or Formica. You lay down and then you duct tape over and use a lot of layers and go pretty far back. Other than that, I mean, we were able to scoop up, you could see in here where it spilled out, and we were able to scoop up all the stuff. We were able to pour that stuff back in. So we got it up to the top. Nice and intact too. See that? Solid. We went in about 1.5 inches towards the gel coat, just so we could tie this floor in with this. We're gonna lay out a piece of 1708 to tie that in, and then we'll tie it into the walls here. The reason why we did this after instead of before is because the pour stuff is going to come out and it's going to ruin the gel coat that was done here. So man, this stuff kicks so fast. It's just so hot.
Super fast.
We're gonna make a fairing compound out of wax gel coat and a little bit of fume silica. You don't want to breathe this stuff in, so put it on your mat. Now we're gonna get our mixture here, and we're just gonna pour this right over. Alright, so it's the next day. We're going to go ahead and start sanding all this down, make it nice and even. And we're going to put a fresh coat of, once we fair it out and everything's nice and even, we're going to gel coat the rest of this, make a nice line all across. We're also going to, you know what, we're going to go in and gel coat the splash wall in here and the bilge. So we'll do that as well. We'll clean all this up, sand this down. Alright, let's get to work. All right, we put another coat of wax gel coat after we sanded so we can fair that out a little better. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna gel coat the sides, get this all nice and gel coated. So my phone's overheating and it didn't record. We just gave a quick pass of unwaxed gel coat. We brushed that on there. I'll try to record this and hopefully my phone doesn't heat up, but we've wiped down the bilge. Let's gel coat this thing up. This is unwaxed gel coat, so we still have to hit it with a wax coat, but we want to build it up a little bit. Phone kept overheating, I apologize, but the bilge is painted. Once we're done fairing, I'm gonna come back with a wax gel coat layer over everything here, and we'll do some non-skid on here. So what I've done is I've laid out this piece of tape, and that's where I'm gonna do the non-skid from here to here, just to give it some type of texture, break up the pattern. Again, you're not gonna see this area, and also this area here is covered by this part, this thing, the splash well. We're just gonna give this a nice coat of gel coat. So in your case, if this is open, you might wanna, you're gonna wanna spend more time to make this nice and neat. All right, I got my gel coat, my wax gel coat, and I have some fine grade non-skid, the Pumas from FGCI. I got myself a small chip brush to get into the areas that I can, and I got my roller, 3/8 nap. Nice. All right, now we're gonna add some of this non-skid in here. And we're only gonna add a little bit, not too much. Now we're gonna come back and we're gonna roll some of this non-skid. Alrighty, we came in and we screwed this piece back on. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna put some silicone on there, some sealant just to cover that up. Let's take off the tape. Now that we got this part on, it's nice and secured. Before we put the cap back on, I'm gonna come and do the battery boxes and put those back in before we put the top on. It'll be a lot easier to put the battery boxes in before the cap is on, so let's do that. That's good. Everything lined up good. Now we got to install the scuppers, and that's it. Okay, the top is back on. Right, we have a little bit of a gap there, but that's normal. There's a little bit of a bigger gap here because the pour kind of bowed out a little bit, so it made the transom here a little bit fatter, a little bit thicker, which is, well, it's good. It's okay. Either way, Ken is going to put an aluminum trim that's going to cover all this. You're not going to see any of that. I think what I'm going to do is, this is my mess up. I cut out too much here and I cut out too much there, so I'm going to fill that up with some putty. Got this old piece here that's all banged up. This was on their original, so he's got a template at least, so he can so we can make a better one. So something like this, something like that, just a little bigger, maybe come out up to here. Now we got to put these two together. And I think how I'm going to do that is grind down the center, fill with putty, and then laminate the underside. Put the rub rail back on there. I'm sure that Ken, the owner of the boat, is going to go fixing her up little by little. What I've done is I've just taped off a little bit here just so I can get my markings, and I've gone in with my belt sander and I've grinded all this just to get like a little valley going in there. And what I'm going to do is, because I have it perfect, I don't want to get on the boat and move it. I'm going to get in here and putty this up. And I got my resin, and I'm going to throw in some mat, chop mat. And I'm also going to throw in a little bit of Cabasil, just so it sands a little easier. I got this nice goop going. I've got myself taped up here, and I'm going to try to fit this, and even use my hands, try to fit this in the gaps there. All right, so we got that filled in. So we're gonna wait till this cures, and we're gonna sand that down again, and then we gotta laminate the inside, the underneath part of it.
Point towards me?
Yep. Good job. Got it?
Yep. My arms are on fire. Pointy side towards me.
Yeah. Pointy side is gonna touch this part like here. Now roll it out as best you can.
Yep.
Try to get air bubbles out. We've filled the cracks with resin and mat. We've laminated the inside of the cap, so we have about 4 inches on both sides that it's laminated, and we rolled that out. Now we're gonna come in with some thickened gel coat, and we're gonna lay that in there, okay, nice and thick. That'll complete the actual transom, and then we just gotta put everything back together. Yes, the gel coat is gonna be 2 different colors, but that's all right. In the case that you did want to color match the gel coat to the color of your hull, FGCI does offer gel coat color matching, and they also offer kits and dyes that you can dye your gel coat yourself to match the color of your boat. All right.
So what did you put in your thickened gel coat?
I got Cabasil mixed with wax gel coat. I'll spread that on there, almost like a peanut butter consistency. And then you want to come and spread that over. We filled this in with some gel coat. Filled this part in with some gel coat, and we ferret it all out. Ken's gonna have to come back and paint this if he wants to. If not, it's fine. And then we finished all this down here. Everything's nice and tucked away. If you guys are interested in doing this project yourself, we have an extended version of this video that's an hour long in more detail, and you can purchase that in the link in the description below. If you want to see the other transom video that we did, you could click up here. If you guys like this video, please like and subscribe. We'd appreciate it. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next one.